First off, Nintendo, you sons of bitches. You upload a video titled Development Update on Metroid Prime 4 without giving me any warning. You know how fast I clicked on that bitch, I know you do. And this is what I get. You know when we said we wanted a Nintendo Direct, this is not what we meant. Metroid Prime 4. 2 E3s ago, the world exploded when they heard that the next entry in the beloved series was finally in development for Nintendo Switch. And since then, nothing. Not even a word about the game. It's gotta be coming soon. Any day now will be the big gameplay reveal. And today we did get this, again, quote, update. The current development on the game has been scrapped, thrown right into the garbage, and they are completely restarting from the beginning. But it's not all bad. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Since the current team is obviously incapable, they're bringing back Retro Studios, the studio behind the originals. It's not exactly the same guys, okay? But they're definitely competent, and that's great news in my opinion. But yeah, who knows when we'll even see the game in action, let alone release. I mean, easily like 2 to 3 years before that. I'd say to Nintendo about this to start, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know what made you go with a different studio, but when we learned it wasn't Retro, everyone was disappointed, and you're like, oh, don't worry, like, you know, we hear rumors like, oh, Bandai Namco is working on it. Bandai Namco doesn't even know what a Nintendo Switch game looks like, and I have proof. And here we are, Retro ends up making the game anyway. It's like, what a waste of time and resources. Should have just went with them in the first place, and if they weren't ready, if they were busy, you should have just waited. Which brings me to another point. Up to now, one of the biggest questions in the gaming industry has been, what is Retro Studios working on? Obviously now, we know they're working on Prime 4, but they haven't done anything in years. So I think this could also mean an announcement about whatever they were doing could also be imminent. There were rumors that whatever they were working on was having development issues, perhaps even that whole game was canceled. But I find it hard to believe that they don't have anything after all this time. So yeah, I think it's very plausible that we'll at least hear about whatever they had been doing for the last 5 years sometime soon. And I'd love for it to be one of those deals where, you know, the game's just been tight-knit, kept under wraps for this whole time, and we'll get an announcement and then it'll be released soon after. I mean, that's what I hope. Because it would suck to find out that even though, you know, Metroid Prime 4, it's cool to hear that it's being developed by Retro, it would suck to hear that that's also going to be their next game. So they've gone all these years with nothing else, and it's going to be like, what, 7 to 8 years between major releases? You know, the last game being Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. But back to Metroid. While yes, it does suck to hear they're back to square one, it's better than having the game release and be trash, have it review poorly, sell terribly, and result in Nintendo sending Samus back to their dungeon for another decade. Because yeah, don't forget, this is the first home console Metroid game since the other M. I know, that's depressing. But if they rushed this game out and it was received poorly, you can bet that it would be a long time before we saw the Metroid franchise again. That's why having that big return be a high-quality title is important. So with that being considered, while it is terrible that, you know, they're just going to be throwing all this work into the trash, if it wasn't worthy of the Nintendo seal of quality, I say good riddance. But yeah, that means we have a long wait before the new Metroid Prime 4 comes out, and I think it would be nice to have something Metroid to hold us over until then. As you all know, pretty much every time I talk about Prime 4, I also mention that Nintendo should do an HD collection of the original 3 games to get people prepped. After hearing this news, I'm pretty much demanding it. There's absolutely no excuse now. You've confirmed it, Metroid Prime 4 is a ways off. We need something to play until then. Something that can keep the Metroid name relevant, that, you know, doesn't let all the hype out of the room around the Metroid franchise. And that's, I think, the easiest way to do it. For me personally, you come out in one of these upcoming directs and announce the trilogy, and we'll be square. Which is also something else I'd like to discuss here. The next Nintendo Direct. Because this is a blow when we look at the upcoming lineup of Nintendo Switch game releases, when we talk about the top-tier titles that players were looking forward to playing in the near future, Metroid Prime 4 was right up there. This next Nintendo Direct, which hopefully is coming soon, this news about Prime 4 may actually be why we haven't gotten a Direct yet. You know, most of us were expecting a January Direct to have dropped by now, but it would make sense if they wanted to hit us with this bad news before the Direct. That way the Direct will make us forget about this, rather than having us come down from a Direct high with talking about it after. But either way, this next Direct really needs to be hype. Have some new announcements, show some sick gameplay. We need more release dates, titles like Fire Emblem Three Houses, just having the broad spring 2019. Yeah, the whole deal. We have a huge void to fill here, so I hope Nintendo has some tricks up their sleeve. You know, because this also puts more pressure on what I would consider the other major upcoming titles, specifically Animal Crossing and Pokemon. With Prime 4, I'd say those were probably like the holy trinity of upcoming titles. Now Prime 4 is effectively dead for the near future. So the other two are going to need to kick even more ass. I'm not worried about them or anything, but yeah, they've got slack to pick up now, along with whatever else you guys have cooking. So yeah, to summarize, it sucks to hear that development on this game is effectively restarting, but if it's going to result in a better quality game, not just a better quality game, but if the original game was going down a dark path and was going to be mediocre or even worse at release, yeah, we'll take the delay all day, at least I will. But as Nintendo is probably now refocusing and reshuffling things when it comes to their release calendar, they got to make sure they make up for what we just lost. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 being effectively scrapped and built from the ground up in the comments. Do you feel better about them starting from square one rather than trying to salvage the previous mess? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Nintendo's Metroid Prime 4 development update. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter @JohnnyZakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.